Harrison Faulkner reporting from Charlottetown for day 2 of our coverage of the ongoing Charlottetown migrant protest. We don't really have a name for this protest yet, but it has captured the country's attention, and Charlottetown, through all of this, has now become the battleground for Canada's ongoing mass immigration debate. On the second day, we heard there was going to be some counter-protesters show up. Well, it wasn't necessarily a counter-protest, but we did manage to find some people who are from the outside of Charlottetown who came in to have their voices heard, to have their side of the story listened to. The legacy media, well, they're only talking to the people who are protesting. They're only getting one side of the story. And from the media that we've seen, they are well and truly on the side of the international students. But we were able to speak with some islanders who come from out of town who have a completely different perspective on how this island is changing due to mass immigration and what is going on here in the province with these absurd policies that are changing the nature of Prince Edward Island. Take a listen to what some of them had to say.
One of the things that people don't realize is that, there may be some folks here in Charlottetown that are, all for this stuff that's going on, but you really only need to go a little bit outside of the city to realize that, not that people are against these people at all, because I'm not at all. I have no problem with anybody. The problem here is PEI, like the lady you interviewed last night said, PEI's full.
There's no space for anybody on this island.
She accidentally said that, but we're tapped out. And I'm not saying, never bring immigration back to Canada or anything like that. I'm just saying we need to fix the problems here. And all the jobs here on the island are going to people who aren't even from here. If, for the most part, if you don't have a family that has a business, your kids probably aren't gonna, think about high schoolers trying to get jobs and stuff. They just don't exist for people from around here because of the ridiculous program that the government put into place here. Canada needs to be dealt with first, handled first. We need to get our finances back on track. Our veterans, my God, our veterans, we hear stories of them all the time. Men killing themselves because they can't continue to go on. And then they get to see this. They get to see people demanding that our government give them rights when they're not even from here.
If we went to their country, we wouldn't even get a job in their country. I have 3 daughters. 2 of them can't get a job because there's no jobs. They've taken up all the entry jobs. The daycare that taxpayer again subsidize and funds. They hired a manager who is an East Indian, and she hired all East Indians. We can't get jobs in banks, we can't get jobs in the fast food industry, we can't get jobs in the restaurants. They're all full all the time. They've been saying that for a while since, I think since the game of bringing them here was that the islanders didn't want to work. We all work, I've worked all my life. But now when I go anywhere, I go to my bank, I can't speak with anybody that speaks fluent English. I can't go to restaurants. I totally boycott the fast food places because you can't communicate.
Do you feel as though Prince Edward Island, do you feel like the government in Prince Edward Island is turning their backs on islanders?
Oh, 100%.
Not all of them are students.
Okay.
A lot of them actually there are, workers that are, have been on open work permits. So,
They're not all international students.
Exactly. So point of correction there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because we spoke with one of the protesters yesterday who said they did come as students, and obviously that would change, I think, the nature of their case, the nature of their argument.
If you remember during COVID, right, there was actually a lot of rule, like flexible rule after COVID. That was after COVID where there was a huge peak in economy, right? We needed more people. And the province actually made a lot of flexible rules in order to bring me more workers. When you line up at Tim Hortons, there were no workers.
They came to PEI because they found out that the rules were flexible, was easy for them to stay back in this community, and they've done nothing wrong than work and stay back in the community.
Do you think that they would come to PEI if the rules were tougher? Do you think they're here because they like PEI or because the PEI rules were easier to get?
Well, I would give you an instance. In Ontario, there are thousands of immigrants as well, okay? And they said Ontario has tougher rules.
What kind of jobs do they do in the island, and what do they do to make the island better?
Well, they work in service industries, food, sales, things that were really essential to us, especially during COVID. Like, we needed these people to deliver food to us, our deliveries from the grocery stores. A lot of them were very essential in helping with those things, as well as other industries as well. There's service industries like tech, the IT industry, for example, where a lot of them really thrive in that as well. And I think each and every industry, no matter how small, contributes to the growth of the island, whether it's economically or in other ways.
How do you think the rapid population growth in this province through international students, many of them said that they were originally international students, how do you think that has contributed to the housing problems faced in the province?
Well, obviously, as the population grows, there will be need for more housing. I think that is the government of the province responsibility as they accept more people into the island to provide housing for them.
Well, these protesters, they don't have a short memory. Well, it was only really one day, of course, but they knew who I was. They didn't like me being there. In fact, they didn't like us being there from the moment we got there yesterday. That was quite evident by the way the organizer treated us and approached us. But today, on the second day, when we arrived to the protest, again, just to capture B-roll, just to film the protest, well, turns out the organizer called the police on our presence. It would be a shame if journalists showed up to actually question their motives and not just simply repeat their talking points. After all, you can see him talking to the police and pointing directly at me. The protest now has almost been going for 7 days, and so far the province, led by Premier Dennis King, has refused to change the rules that they have put in place. They are not opening up the provincial nominee program for any more service workers. If these people protesting had skills to work in construction or in healthcare, well, they would have no reason to protest because PEI would have a place for them. But they don't, do they? These are service workers who have low skills, who work in the retail industry. And PEI is quite clearly in no need of having more retail and service workers in the province. Premier Dennis King has not caved to the migrant mob, and I have to say, it is a real surprise in this country when a government finally puts its own people first. But that's what we're seeing right now from the PEI government, and I think there will be a lot of happy islanders if the Premier does not bend to the mob.